Howdy ho, Andrew here. Welcome to my new channel. Used to be the Onion Buns, but because of just some insane comments and loss of subscriptions I've been getting from left-wing people that came onto that channel, I decided I had to split up politics away from that channel. Because that channel, before I get into today's topic, I'm just going to explain something. I made the Onion Buns as a variety channel because talking about the same thing every single day sounds so insanely boring to me, like terribly boring. So I made the Onion Buns to be a variety channel. Like the schedule right now is Mondays is animals, Tuesday is politics, Wednesday is the Oilers sports, Thursday is another politic, Friday is pet stories and a react video, usually on entertainment industry, and then Saturday and Sunday are gaming. And then I do comedy shorts and break up the Oiler video into 7 parts over the week, and those are daily shorts. And I went in with the concept that if you don't like one thing on one day, you can come back on the next day and you can find something you do like. And that made perfect sense to me because, think of TV. I don't like everything on TV or on a certain channel, but there might be 1 or 2 shows I do like. So I just don't cancel the channel. I just don't watch the stuff I don't like. It's called being an adult. But apparently on YouTube or on the internet, that's not how it works. I tell this story online, but I'm going to tell you, one of the replies I got is I made a cat video and I got this reply. It goes, "I love your cat videos. They are so cute and they are just adorable. But then I looked at your political videos and you're trying to destroy the world." In other words, I'm a moderate. We're dealing with a radical left-winger who thinks anyone who doesn't agree with her is trying to destroy the world. And anyway, so now I can't stand your cat videos and I'm unsubbing. What do you do with that? That's mental. That's a mental disease. But, unfortunately with YouTube, you need every sub. So after watching my subs go up and down, up and down, up and down, recognizing this is probably the cause, I figured, okay, I got to separate my politics to a different channel and just have non-politics on that channel. So this is the first video of my World According to Andrew channel. And yeah, so we're going to start with something that I've been tossing around in my head to do for a while. And I figured, what a way to premiere. So I don't touch American politics all that often. Like very rarely, actually. I'm Canadian. So usually when I talk politics, it's Canadian. But this story transcends American Canadian. It's more about left and right. Or really what it's more about is a rabid left-winger hit her breaking point. And now she's moved to, I would call her a center left is what I would call her. She's not a right winger. She's a quasi-moderate, like she's right on the fringe of that left wing. But I'd put her more into the moderate now than the left wing. And yeah, like she's never going to vote for Trump. Like anyone who thinks she is an idiot. She's never going to vote for Trump. But I think she's had an awakening. And one of my favorite channels out there is Nate the Lawyer. I freaking love this guy. He's a lot like I am. He's very analytical. He looks at the facts and he uses common sense. He doesn't really look at things from a left and right point of view. He looks at the facts and he comes to his own opinion. Now, in modern times, because the left wing, I find, is so unbalanced, that means you're usually siding with the right wingers. Doesn't mean you're endorsing them. It just means they're coming off as the more sane of the two sides. And I have that in Canada as well. So I really like his videos, and he does a lot of rural municipal type of stories in the States. So I watch his videos and I learn a ton about American politics that you never see, even when on unbiased newscasts. You never see it because we're talking municipal, city politics. We're not talking state politics or federal politics, and those tend to get all of the airplay. You never really see the municipal. So I find his stuff just amazing, and it's just baffling how corrupt some of these mayors out in the States are. Again, that correlates into Canada. We here in Edmonton, we have a nightmare mayor that's just ending his run. And yeah, it's been a nightmare 4 years with him here in Edmonton. So I can kind of relate, but even he doesn't go to the extent some of these American mayors do. So as always, I will put his YouTube channel into the description of the video, and you can go like it. And after you subscribe to my channel, you can go subscribe to his channel. And like I say, I find his videos fascinating. They're not really relevant to me being Canadian, and again, these are municipal issues for the most part. This video, however, is talking about a TV personality, Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks. Now, I really didn't know much about Anna Kasparian, I'd say even a year ago. Didn't know much about her at all. It's a YouTube channel, the Young Turks. I never watched it. So why would I know? And being in Canada, we don't get news on these people. This channel was supported by the MSNBCs and the CNNs, and I don't watch those either. It's like in Canada, I don't watch CBC. I no longer watch CTV or Global because they're just left-wing propaganda. They're not news anymore. Now, I get my news from people like David on Moose on the Loose, or Josh from Elevate, or Mark Nixon, or Jasmine Lane, or even Wyatt Claypool. Like Wyatt Claypool does excellent videos on polling. Just he's probably my go-to guy for polling, Canadian polling. But anyway, so back to this. So yeah, Anna has done a shift, as I said. She's not really the left-wing lunatic that she used to be. And I noticed this when Charlie Kirk got assassinated. They had this psychotic YouTuber that I've never watched. Apparently he's really popular, but I've never watched him, called Destiny on the Piers Morgan show. And I happened to see the clip, and Anna absolutely tore into him. And I have that clip, so I'm going to play it at the end of this video. So watch this video, but you want to see her tear into this left-wing goofball. And it just highlights the shift she's made. Like, she's come to a realization that she was wrong, that she was being lied to, she was being manipulated. And this is what I've been saying for a long time, even before I started my YouTube channel, about the modern day left wing. And again, full transparency, I voted for the Liberals in Canada in the 1990s, but they were a center left party then. Nowadays, they're a radicalized, extremist, alt-left, globalist party. They couldn't even find the center if you drew a map for them. And she used to be in that camp of the radicalized left wing. But like I said, she's had an awakening. And I find it, refreshing, but fascinating. When somebody has an awakening, the light clicks on and wait a second. It doesn't mean that they're going to the right wing as the left. Anyone to the right of the left will call you a right winger, a Yahtzee, a Trump lover, and every sort of insult they can think of, because that's really all they have is insults. A light went on in her head, and she's thinking, and now she's looking at the facts, something she fully admits in this video that she wasn't doing before. And when she looks at the facts, suddenly what she was pushing isn't adding up. So sit back and enjoy this. I'll pipe in with my commentary as always, but I find this absolutely fascinating and, as I said, refreshing. It gives me hope. It really does. If somebody that far to the left can have an awakening, then people that are not as indoctrinated as she was can also have an awakening. And that's just good for the world in general.
Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks has seen the light. She has come to the realization that her and her network, the Young Turks, were just as bad as the right when pushing disinformation.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in right away. This guy right here, Cenk, C-E-N-K. I don't get how they came up with the name the Young Turks, because this guy, I don't doubt he's younger than me, but he looks freaking older than me, and he's always looked older than me. So, look at this lineup. Okay, this guy's pretty young. This guy's not that young. If she's young, she's not aging well. He's not that young. He looks like he's 100. She's really the only young one. This guy and Anna are really the only young ones in this lineup. So how did they ever come up with this name? I would love to be a fly on the wall of somebody asking that question, because I don't get it. Anyway.
Information. See, we live in a world of extremes. On one side, we have the right-wing media who openly lie and deceive their audiences with false facts and made-up narratives.
Ironically, in Canada, we don't have a right-wing media. On YouTube, we have the Rebel, and then we have some YouTubers that call themselves conservatives, but we don't have right-wing media. We only have left-wing media, and they're no longer media. They are left-wing state propaganda outlets. Like the CBC gets $2 billion from the Liberals every year to push their propaganda. CTV, Global, Globe and Mail, Toronto Red Star, they share in a $600 million slush fund from the Liberals to push liberal propaganda. They're all far left-wing propaganda outlets. We don't have right-wing. So, there's one thing I don't watch Fox News. I see clips, but I don't watch Fox News. But I appreciate that the States has a counterbalance. You have the left-wing lunatics, and then you have the right-wing lunatics. And they kind of counter each other out. So, I've always said before, if you want the full story, look at the left, look at the right, see what they agree on, and then sort of meld them together, and you can usually come up with the truth of the story and cancel out all the bullshit. In Canada, we don't have the right wing. So all we get is insinuated with the left-wing propaganda. And that kind of explains why our country is in the shape it's in. I appreciate in the States that they have these right-wing outlets and they have these left-wing outlets, and, go at it. And I don't know, I don't think either of them get all that much federal money. So it's like, pander to your base. Will they support you or won't they?
The point where Fox News had to pay almost $800 million for telling lies and falsehoods to the public. The right wing has its issues, but the left wing is just as bad, if not worse. See, they push lies in the exact same way. And one of their, quote, news organizations that are pushing those lies are named the Young Turks. They're here on YouTube. Now, I have many videos on calling out the lies of the Young Turks, for their coverage of things like Kyle Rittenhouse to their coverage of the City Bike Karen story. See, I don't care about opinions, but I do care about the facts. And this is my beef with both sides.
And see, that's where Nate and I are exactly like, I don't care about opinions either. Don't give me your opinion, because I don't give a shit about it. Don't tell me you're offended. I don't care. Don't tell me... I tell this story before. I'm going to say it again. I know a girl that went to the University of Alberta here, and I was on Facebook, and this was years ago, so I don't remember what I was posting. It was something about special interest, probably. And I had made a post, and she came on and she said, Andrew is wrong. I went to the University, I don't know why I'm giving her a southern accent, but I went to the University of Alberta and they taught me how to think. As soon as I read that, it's like, they taught her how to think. They didn't teach her how to think for herself. Very important contradiction there. They taught me that facts don't matter. You have to take into account emotions and feelings and special interest. And I'm just sitting here looking at my computer, shaking my head. And I tell you, yeah, that's not education. That's indoctrination. Congratulations. You've been indoctrinated, and that's nothing to be proud of. And I stand by that. So I agree with Nate. I don't care about opinions. Don't tell me your opinion, because I don't care. Tell me facts. Provable, viable facts.
They're either making up facts or leaving them out to push a particular narrative. They want you to feel a certain way about a story. And when those facts disagree with their predetermined narrative, then we're supposed to just ignore those facts. Now, that brings me back to Anna Kasparian. She was one of those people pushing those lies, and she seemed to enjoy doing it. But now she's coming clean. Now, in an interview with Stitch and Adam, link in the description, she finally does something that I assume would never happen. She tells the truth about these stories. She actually looked at the facts of the stories that she was reporting on, and shocking, I know, she realized that her network, TYT, was pushing absolute propaganda for the left wing.
I so wish left-wingers would do this, or more left-wingers. I know a guy, and I've told this story before as well. We're sitting at coffee. This is about a year ago now. And we're having coffee here in Edmonton. And he is a radicalized extremist, alt-left NDP socialist. Through and through. He even admits it. And we're having coffee. And he's going on and on. Canada doesn't have a drug problem, an opioid problem. I mean, get real. We have an absolute crisis going on. There's deaths in the streets from opioid all across Canada. They just raided a super lab, the world's largest fentanyl super lab in Falkland, BC. It's on the border of Canada and the United States, and they seized the most amount of fentanyl ever. And he looks at me across the table and he sticks his face right in my face like that. Source. And I'm just like, go look, Google it for fuck's sakes. So he Googles, oh, I guess this was true. And then he spent 45 minutes, I'm not lying, he spent 45 minutes going over those left-wing sites that Nate just showed you, the left-wing media sites, until he could find that one site. And I believe it was Political he found, and I told him don't even read it because I don't consider Political to be legitimate whatsoever. But he found that one site that would tell him none of the drugs were magically going to go into Canada or the US. They were all going to be shipped overseas. And I just like, for fuck's sakes, use your head already. Of course they're going to the United States and Canada. They're being made on the border of the United States and Canada. Just use some critical thinking. But so I wish left-wingers would use critical thinking and go fact-check themselves. I really do. Like, the world would be such a happier place if they just did that, but they won't. Most of them will not do that.
Now, let's go over some of those examples that now she regrets on pushing. As I mentioned earlier, Kyle Rittenhouse. Now, from the start, I said Kyle Rittenhouse was acting in self-defense and was not guilty. I didn't think he should even be charged. Now, why did I come to that conclusion? Well, I saw the video, I read the indictment and all the court documents, and they essentially made the case in the court documents, in the police records, that Kyle Rittenhouse was innocent. Remember? The facts were on Kyle Rittenhouse's side. But Anna and the Young Turks went out of their way to make it seem like Kyle Rittenhouse was a racist, a murderer, and guilty of carrying an illegal gun across state lines. All of which was false at the time they said it. It was false if you just read the court documents. The court even dropped the gun charge because Kyle actually had a legal gun. Now, here is Anna and the media saying that Kyle crossed state lines with an illegal gun. And you'll hear how they tried to hammer it home. Listen to these clips.
Who crossed state lines. He drove from Illinois to Kenosha, Wisconsin. Now, again, he drove from Illinois to Wisconsin. It's not like he was in his front yard. And he was approached by a group of individuals who posed an imminent threat to his life. He drove across state lines in a state that he doesn't even live in, and then he crossed state lines with it.
Okay, I know Nate's going to cover this in a bit, but this is how twisted she was. If you know who Kyle Rittenhouse was, the video was all over the place of him being attacked by 4 or 5 different Antifa members. And he was in fear for his life. And there was absolutely no doubt of that. He was in fear for his life, and he shot one of them. And this was the spin that they put on at the time. And they hammered this lie over and over and over and over. So this really does demonstrate how far gone she was at one point into the left-wing lunacy. Like, she was a full-blown card-carrying member of the mentally insane left-wing society.
He crossed state lines, meaning he traveled across state lines. He traveled there from out of state, who again traveled across state lines.
Like they were trying to not paint him. He was a kid that took a gun across state lines and went and did what he did.
Across state lines, driving across state borders. He's driving across state lines.
Across the state line, across state lines,
Across state lines, across state lines. If you look at the Rittenhouse case, he crossed state lines. Drives up to events.
Across state lines.
Came across state lines.
Kyle Rittenhouse, who traveled across state lines.
From out of state, out of his own state.
Came across state borders. Whenever you have a situation where a 17-year-old is crossing state lines,
White teenager.
He crosses a state line, drives 30 minutes into Kenosha.
Remember, he came across the line.
He crossed state lines.
Cross state lines.
Across state lines. He crossed state lines.
Kyle Rittenhouse, who crossed state lines.
came across
state lines.
Cross state lines.
He went across state lines.
Cross state lines.
Cross state lines. And
Cross state lines.
A 17-year-old kid from out of state.
He makes
Out of state.
all cross state lines.
Cross state lines.
Notice it's all MSNBC, CNN, and all the other lunatic left-wing propaganda outlets saying this.
Cross state lines.
Across state lines.
Cross state lines. Went over state lines, drove across state lines. He drove across state, had his mother drive him across state lines from out of state.
say the line, Bart.
The teenager traveled across state lines.
Carl Rittenhouse traveled from his home in Illinois across the state line to Wisconsin.
Drove to a different state, drives up to the state. Again, drove across state lines.
Now, this is what Anna says about Kyle Rittenhouse now and the state lines issue.
If I'm alone at a park and some random guy tries to lure my dog away from me, I'm going to freak out. I just am. And so, okay, with the Rittenhouse story, I was going to cover the trial and I just needed to go back and just really, really look at all of the details and remember all the details. So when I do the story, I get the facts right. And then as I'm doing that, I come across a New York Times video. And this was a really, really well done video that they posted on YouTube that showed you in slow motion, how everything transpired that night. Mm-hmm. And once you see it for yourself, it's really, really difficult to argue that in those moments, he was not acting in self-defense. And right. This is an area where, Jake and I disagree because, if someone's hitting you over the head with a skateboard, that could kill you, And so, Jake is he's a strong-minded person, and
Jake is an idiot. Her partner, the guy I said, I don't understand how they got Young Turks because he looks older than me. He's an idiot. I've seen him on different panels. He is a bleeping moron. I'm sure her and him they're going to split in very short time if this is her thinking now, because he has no tolerance for anything but the ultra, 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 ultra far left lunacy. He just keeps repeating this crap.
He's not one to back down from a fight. So in his mind, someone confronts you with a skateboard, he doesn't see it as a threat. But I do. And Rittenhouse is not a big, burly guy who can defend himself against someone who's hitting him over the head with a skateboard as he's lying on his back. So right. Once I saw all those details, first of all, I had to convey them to my audience and be honest about what the reality was. The other thing was, there was a lot of misreporting about how Kyle Rittenhouse was in possession of an illegal weapon and that he crossed state lines with that illegal weapon. Okay?
Yeah.
So that was a lie. And it's not a lie that I just made up in my mind, right? That was how it was reported initially, which is why I would mention the state lines, but not because, oh, how dare he cross state lines? Anyone in this country has the right to cross state lines. It was because it was reported that he was in possession of an illegal gun, and he traveled across state lines with an illegal gun, which is a serious charge. But it turned out that he did not travel across state lines with that weapon.
Yeah, he didn't do that. Yeah, the weapon was in the area already. Yeah.
Exactly. He bought it from a friend when he was already in Wisconsin.
Now, that fact about Kyle not bringing a gun across state lines was out there from the beginning, but they pushed that for months. Now, she's admitting that TYT pushed garbage to their audience and did not research the story. They just pushed out the mainstream media's narrative, and that narrative was a lie. So there were two narratives about Kyle Rittenhouse. One that he was a white supremacist mass shooter, and the other that he was some innocent kid who was legally defending himself. Remember, the facts supported that he was innocent, and the spin was that he was guilty. Now, Anna then goes on to throw shots at others in her network, particularly the ultimate race hustler, Rashard Richey. Now, see, Rashard Richey sees only black and white. His motto is black is good, white is bad, and facts don't matter at all. Now, when it came to the City Bike Karen story, TYT jumped out claiming that this 6-month pregnant white woman was trying to steal a bike from 4 black kids after she completed a 12-hour shift at work. Dr. Richey said that she was a theft, and that's what we should call it. Here's the clip.
Karenicity is unbelievable. Put up the picture. We got her name, where she works, her boss. I want to remind you of a couple of things that happened in this video. Obviously, it is telling, right? You know, she said, and I quote, "You are hurting my fetus, my unborn child." Did you all hear that part? She said that. Why did she say that? Because that bolsters her argument to do what she's attempting to do, which is theft under any other circumstance. We will call this attempted theft if the black male went up to the white female who paid for her opportunity to utilize the device and he decided to grab it and try to take it. We will call that clearly attempted theft.
Now come find out that this white woman had actually rented the bike, and in fact, she was the one who had ownership of the bike at the time. And in fact, the black teen was trying to take the bike from her. She actually rented the bike. She showed receipts. So Dr. Rashard Richey had to pull down the video and make a public apology. Here's the clip.
So let me contextualize this properly, okay? Naturally, we reported on our video as the facts were presented at that time. By the time we reported on this video, well, there was no actual statement yet from the other side. The hospital had a statement at that time, and they were troubled by what they saw as well. So were we. Now, if this is true, which confirmation is still pending, still trying to find the individuals who are part of this narrative on the other side. If it is true, it does prove, in my opinion, that Ms. Comrie had a good faith belief that she, in fact, had a right to the bike. But that doesn't mean the young man did not. It doesn't mean they did not have a good faith belief that the bike wasn't.
The young man didn't pay squat to rent the bike. How do you have a good faith belief if you haven't paid for a rental? We call that, like if you do that in a home, it's called squatting. Like, this guy's an idiot.
Not hers. That part of the story is important too.
So, TYT caught again, pushing a false narrative and lies. But here's how Anna feels about it now.
Look at other sources that I typically wouldn't have looked at. And then the other thing that I do now is I just wait. You know, I think the story involving the so-called City Bike Karen is a good example of that. The main show, because TYT consists of many different shows, right? The show that I'm the executive producer and host of is the main flagship show, The Young Turks. Mm-hmm. And prior to that story breaking, I had a meeting with my team and I was like, listen, I don't want you guys pitching stories about random individuals in the country who are caught in an out of context video allegedly behaving badly. I think these stories are divisive. I don't think we usually have the full details before we talk about these stories. And honestly, at the end of the day, engaging in these witch hunts is actually causing more division and hate in the country than anything else.
1000%.
So like, if there's a story that's particularly like jarring and you guys really do want to cover it, that's fine, but just understand that we are going to wait. Like, we are not in the business of breaking news. I don't give a shit about being the first in reporting the story or whatever. I want to make sure that when we do, we actually report it correctly.
And that's all any media, right or left, needs to do. That's really all there is. Quit worrying about being first. Just worry about being factually correct. That's all I ever ask for. That's all most people ask for, except for that little fringe extremist on either spectrum that are only interested in ideology. But just get it right. That's it. But that's exactly what we don't have from our media right now. So it's so refreshing to hear her taking this stance now. Doesn't mean I'm going to start watching the Young Turks because there's still all those other idiots around her. But yeah, it's refreshing. She's had an awakening.
And we don't have egg on our face later. Now, there are a bunch of other shows on the network that I have no say over, that I have no control over, who, inaccurately reported on it and had to issue retractions. They had to take videos down and all that stuff. And I just think that was a teachable moment, hopefully a teachable moment for everyone in the company. But certainly, this is an ongoing conversation I have with my team. And luckily, I don't know how I did.
So the TYT brand is still pushing BS stories and false narratives, and she is now on the inside trying to fight against it, allegedly. Now, one of the last points that Anna made that I wanted to delve into is she wanted to address trans issues. Now, personally, I believe trans people should have every right to live the lives that they want to live, whatever makes them happy, whatever, right? Within reason. But no right is absolute. For example, my right to swing my arms doesn't give me the right to swing them in a way where I'm going to hit your body. And this is the issue when it comes to the trans movement. Having, for instance, biological men compete against biological women in sports is ridiculous and dangerous in some cases. Now, Anna's going to explain how TYT was pushing the fact that transitioning children with puberty blockers didn't cause harm, and that it was reversible. But now Anna has done some research, and now she knows the truth, that what she was saying was a lie. Listen to it.
I'm subscribed to Blocked and Reported. I have listened to endless podcast episodes from Blocked and Reported. I haven't seen anything from Jesse Singal that communicates to me that he is a transphobe, that he is a bad person. He did straight news reporting on basically what, some of the risks could be when it comes to transitioning literal kids with puberty blockers and then cross-sex hormones. And through his reporting, which I'm very sad to say I didn't really come across until this year, I learned that I was wrong about a bunch of other things, right? So, for instance, it is a lie that puberty blockers are reversible. In some cases, they are not, and they can cause irreparable harm. And look, you might think, okay, but you got to do a balancing act. And if a child or if a teenager had severe gender dysphoria and it would actually be better for that person to go on puberty blockers. Okay, I mean, we should be able to balance that out. But my point here is withholding the information because you don't like the information getting out there ain't the way to go, because that destroys any opportunity for us to actually have a good faith debate about what we should do moving forward.
Exactly. And that's really what it's about, people. A good faith debate. Give us all the facts and let us come to our own conclusions. You might not like the conclusions we come to, but give us the facts and let us come to our own conclusions. That's really all the media's job is. Give all the facts in an unbiased, nonpartisan way and let the viewership or the readership come to their own conclusions based on what they read now that they are informed. That's all the media has to do, and that's exactly the opposite of what the modern day media does.
What are the pros and cons? So there's that, all of this stuff, it started adding up. And through listening to Blocked and Reported, I found out I got a lot of stories wrong as well.
Crazy, right? Now she realizes that she was lying to millions of people. Now, I want to be very clear. Anna's not turning right wing. She's not voting for Trump. And TYT is not becoming Fox News. But they are open to the truth. That is what this interview was about.
Yeah, she's not going to be a Trumper. Okay. Now, she's definitely going to get accused of being a Trumper now that she's gone to what I call the traditional center left. That's how she sounds to me, is she is a center left, but a traditional center left, not one of these modern day left wingers anymore. Prior to this, she was a modern day left winger. Like, she was an idiot. You heard herself in the clips at the beginning about Kyle Rittenhouse. You know, just spewing the propaganda line over and over, not thinking for herself, not looking at all the facts, just spewing what she was told. Now she's actually awakened and she's looking at the facts and she's coming to a more rational conclusion. I would call her a center left. A center left is not going to vote for Trump. It's not happening. What I wouldn't be surprised is, I had another friend, she suffers the worst Trump derangement syndrome you've ever heard. And she's like, if you had to vote for Harris or Trump, who would you vote for? Now, I wouldn't vote for either of them. I don't do extremist politics. But if you had to vote for one, who would you vote for? Again, I don't do extremist politics. I wouldn't vote for either of them. But if you had, I'm like, listen, I know what you're trying to do. I know what you want to hear. It's not happening. I don't do extremist politics. I'm not voting for Trump. And I'm not voting for Harris if I was American. I would abstain from voting. And I think that's where Anna is now. If that last election was happening and she had this new mindset of being a center left, I think that's where she would fall. It's like, I can't vote for Trump, but I won't vote for Harris. So I'm just abstaining.
She is telling everyone that they are now committed not to the left-wing narrative, but to the truth in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, the truth in the City Bike Karen case, and the truth about puberty blockers. She is essentially admitting that they were pushing lies and falsehoods, and crazy enough, YouTube was promoting them. YouTube was promoting this misinformation while removing people like me who was trying to give you the truth. Now, I want to end with this. The truth is not right wing or left wing.
Nope.
It's just truth.
Yep.
Now, TYT has been avoiding the truth for years now, and they are trying something new, reporting the truth. Shot.
I wish I could say this is an awakening of TYT, but I think this might be an awakening of Anna, because as I've said, I got another video to show you of her just lacing into destiny. But I don't expect that from TYT. What I think is happening is Trump's numbers are so high in the States, contrary to the misinformation coming from the left-wing media. His numbers are so high in the States that these outlets want to exist. They need to get a little more moderate in their viewpoint. I have no doubt that should the Democrats win the next election in the States, they won't. The assassination of Charlie Kirk all but guaranteed the states are going to have 10 to 12 years of Republicans, in my opinion. But should the Democrats win in the next election, I think you'll see the majority of these TYT people go right back to the lunatic left. They are playing to the audience. I think Anna might actually be honest in her contrition here. And that's the separation. Her partner, Senk, no, he's not honest at all. He's a buffoon, an absolute buffoon. And you saw that other guy who's like, even after he's been proven wrong, he's still trying to say, well, like the other child, he had a good faith belief the bike was his. He didn't pay anything for a rental bike. She paid for the rental bike. There's no good faith there. It's theft on his part, but he wouldn't say that. So, yeah, I don't believe those guys are going to have contrition and be more moderate or fact-based. I think they're going to play to the audience until the audience in the White House changes, and then they'll go back to their old tricks. Anna, I think, is having an awakening, and she's rich enough that I don't think she's going back to that. I think she understands she was in error at all that time.
I know. Now, let me know what you think. Is TYT going to turn over a new leaf or not? Now, I'm going to wait and see, but hit me up in the comments. Now, I'll try to read them all, and your feedback actually helps me get better at making these type of videos. So, my name is Nate the Lawyer, and I'll see you in the next one.
So that was Nate the Lawyer, and I love his videos. As I said, I'm going to put a link in my description of this video so you can go to his channel, and after you subscribe to my channel, you can subscribe to his channel. But I love his content, but most of his content is municipal level in the States. It's Chicago mayor, a bunch of small town mayors. It's fascinating stuff, and you won't believe the corruption going on there. Like, it's just mind-boggling. But if that's not really your cup of tea, that's probably not, his videos are probably not for you. Personally, I find them absolutely fascinating. Okay, so I promised you Anna going after Destiny, so let's bring up that video. Okay, so this is just short. This isn't the full video of it. You can look under Piers Morgan for this full video. It's quite the Destiny was so obnoxious and so out to lunch that you had guests walking off the show and she just laced into him. I don't know how much they're going to show here, as this is just a short, but yeah. So anyway, let's sit back and watch.
Okay, you need to understand what being a human is, what it's like to actually lose someone that you love, that you chose to spend your life with, that you chose to raise children with, a person who was violently and viciously assassinated like that. This is why I've moved away
and when something
identifying as a
you got bullied online. It's so funny. It's so funny that you just said that you don't think about how other people act to define your behavior. Your entire political ideology now is somehow defined by the people that were mean to you on Twitter.
No,
if somebody
it's
cares
not.
about somebody who's grieving,
I understood
then you tell that
what
person,
the flaws
you
on
tell
the
that
left
person,
happen to
hey,
be. The
maybe you
weakness
should
in their
step back for a
arguments.
couple of
No,
weeks.
no, it's
Maybe you
not
should
about
take
the
some
way I
time to
get
grieve.
treated.
You don't
I
say,
get
hey,
treated
let's
like
throw a
crap from
camera in
both
front
sides
of
of
you
the
and have
political
you
aisle.
do.
Okay, you need to understand what being a human.
Just so you know, Destiny was deplatformed on YouTube and kicked off of this video. His comments about Charlie Kirk were so disgusting. So, yeah, disgusting is the perfect word. You know, he had Anna, who is, as I said, center left. She went off on him. You had other guys on the show. They just walked off the show. They wanted nothing to do with the show. Just, no, I'm not here to put up with that crap. You know, I don't suggest watching that video because, like, I wanted to punch something watching that video, that Destiny guy. You know, and I'm sure he's never been in a fight in his life. He's just a loudmouth on the internet. But, you know, it was so intolerant, divisive, inhumane what he was saying that I was, you know, it was surprising YouTube got rid of him, but it was props to YouTube for getting rid of him. So anyway, that was what I wanted to show you. All right, and that was my premiere episode of Let's Talk on World According to Andrew. All of my political videos will be appearing on this channel. That's all this channel is going to do is my political videos. All of my non-political videos will still be uploaded daily onto the Onion Buns. And I'll put the link into the Onion Buns in the description as well. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing going forward. And that's all I have for you. It's like I found this amazing and interesting and fascinating and refreshing to see somebody awaken, to figure out the lies she had been telling for the left wing and doing a course correction. Now, again, she's not a right winger. She's a lot like Bill Maher. Bill Maher wants nothing to do with the modern day left as well, but he's still left wing. He's just not so lunatic fringe that he fits in with the modern day left anymore. And that's really where the separation comes in. You know, it's like I'm a moderate. I go a little bit to the right on law and order, finances, justice, military, that stuff. And I go a little bit to the left on social issues, traditional left on social issues, healthcare, animal rights, which the modern day left don't seem to give a crap about. And yeah, I'm a moderate, but not a day goes by that I don't get called Yahtzee or Trump lover or Alex Jones tinfoil hat or blah, 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 because that's all the modern left has anymore is name calling. They can't stand up to the facts, reality. So they just go into name calling, and that's no way to have a discussion, a debate, or even an argument. That's just pathetic. I recently said on Facebook, I was doing some soul searching. I was wondering, have I gone to the right? I was wondering because I noticed I was agreeing with the right a lot more than I used to. And then the Charlie Kirk assassination happened, and it clicked. It clued in. I haven't gone more to the right. I am still a moderate. What I have developed, and I fully admit this, is I have a sheer hatred of the modern day left wing. I despise them. I absolutely hate them. Not to the point I wish physical ill on them. It's like that one girl I was telling you about. Who would you vote for, Trump or Harris? It's like she calls herself a Christian, but she constantly goes around wishing Trump to be ended. And I'm like, yeah, that's not Christian. That's not cool. It's like, I hate Trudeau and Carney. I've never once wished them to be ended. I don't want them in government, and I want them in jail for the crimes they committed. But I've never wished them physical harm. And that seems to be the difference. The modern day left, as we see, all they want is harm. They want violence, which is amazing to me, because I keep saying this, is if the right wing ever hits the point that they've just said enough is enough, they're fed up, the left wing is screwed. If the right wing ever does become the violent side that the left wing tries to paint them as, the left wing's screwed. They can't fight that. The right wing will slaughter them. But the right wing doesn't do that. I keep saying, I can't remember the last time I saw in the news a far righter committing violence. I can't. Nothing jumps out at me. Lots of stuff jumps out about the left. Nothing jumps out to me about the right. Now, that's not to say the KKK or the neo-Nazis or whatever don't commit violent acts. I'm sure they do, but they're rare. They're not a daily occurrence like with the left wing, and as far as I'm concerned, both sides are extremists and both sides should be locked away. Just throw them in padded cells and get them out of society. Both sides. All extremists. Gone. But, yeah. So anyway, that's my video. If you like the video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm starting to grow this channel, so a like, a subscribe, and a share would do me wonders. It takes 1 second to subscribe, costs you absolutely nothing, helps me immensely. Just hit the subscribe button on the bottom of the screen. Always feel free to leave a comment. I encourage everyone to leave a comment. I would love for people to leave comments where we can have discussions, commentary, and if it's a good debate going on, I will use it to make more future videos. And yeah, so anyway, and yeah, so that's it. So everyone, have a great day. Be nice to each other. Bye.